You know that I usually say AI is terrible and AI cannot replace the human writer at all. In fact, my stance was it can't even touch the human writer. Like, you're better off with a writer creating your blank draft. That's you. All that changed. So the project name can either be your site, or we could do this for, honestly, a client of yours if you wanted.
So this is why I was asking earlier, what would be a bad site to do it for? So for example, I would be curious to know if it could write for a financial website. So go to ocfo.com.
ocfo.com.
Let's say they can, write stuff about tax. So they do a lot of cloud accounting products. They have, so if you hover over their services, you'll see kind of like the different services that they offer. And this is a client of mine that we help them with kind of optimizing some of their content, because we're not subject matter experts to be able to write this necessarily correctly. So it'd be interesting to know, if I were to approach them and say, here was a piece of AI written content, would you be willing to publish this in its current form? Or like, what would the level of editing be required in order to make this viable? Because I know I can use it for my own site, like in terms of writing stuff about web design and digital marketing. I think that's a very easy subject to write about this.
Agreed. So how do you actually write this? Is it just all lowercase, period?
So it stands for outsourced CFO.
Okay.
Or outsourced CFO.
Target audience. I'm seeing founders. Is there anyone else that they are targeting?
Founders, entrepreneurs, accountants.
Entrepreneurs, accountant. Very good.
And then say venture capitalists, startups.
And startups.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And then for the tone of voice, we got some choices here. So someone was asking style.
I think authoritative.
I would say for this niche, you definitely want authoritative. Let's do that.
Yeah, authoritative or informative.
Yeah, or informative. Are they going for like industry leader? Is that like one of their goals?
Their demographic is small to medium-sized businesses that cannot afford to have full-time CFOs. So they're looking to outsource to have bring in a CFO part-time.
Okay, that's tough, because I think informative might almost work better than authoritative. What would you go with?
Well, what is your definition of authoritative in this context?
These aren't like extreme tones, so I would say it's more in the informative blend. Like if we were to say, is this a strong authority, or is it let's more inform, let's corner our niche through well-written content?
Let's go with informative.
Okay. And it's funny, the other day,
that's what my gut instinct would be if I was to be using this by myself.
Let's do a keyword.
Maybe like business valuations or something. That could be how to value your company.
How would we word that? How to value your company? So
company valuation.
Okay. How to do company valuations?
Kind of like stuff like, how much is your business worth? How do investors value your business? I'm just going through kind of their service page.
So 2 things to guide your prompt. I'd look at the top of Google and kind of see what's there. And if it's like, how do I determine my business's market value? Like I see that, right, in featured snippet. So I would actually include some of that in my prompt. But then I would also
sign into Ahrefs as well. I'll pull up mine some data quick.
Yeah. And then the other thing that should guide your prompt is like anything the client said. Like we have to include this, we have to talk about these things, or like Felix, you were saying services. That's a good place to come from. So let's go back to the prompt. I'm going to paste in. And then tell me some of the services they do.
So discounted cash flow valuation model, company valuations, fundraising.
Okay.
You'd be doing your company valuation when you want to get your company, you're entering a fundraising stage and you want to get investors on board. So
maybe you add raise capital.
Yeah, raise capital. Write a guide to help funders determine their business market value, company valuation numbers, what valuation models to use, because there are lots of different models to use, how to negotiate a valuation, and how to raise capital with evaluation. Maybe just say what models to use.
Yeah, because that's kind of synonymous with this business's market value.
Say how to negotiate a business price. Work out how much your business is worth.
I think the worth is like not a strong word, right? I want to keep it like value, price. Is there another word we could use? and how to raise business capital to prepare for an exit or fundraising stages to get investors on board.
Sounds great.
I like it too. Okay, so what we can do is two things.
You could ask, why is a business valuation important as well? Or the importance of a business valuation.
Let me go back to Google too, because we can use that to kind of guide us. Tally the value of assets was the first one. So it almost goes straight into it. Almost, if you think about what's in Google right now, like it's going straight into the, I think we're fine leaving that out since Google tends to prefer that practical angle. So again, two things to guide your prompts. Like first, you need a good writer. That's like the AIO writer process, right? Like me, I am a writer, so I can really wordsmith this to make it read well. Because if you just write a guide to do this, like the content just won't be as good as it can be. So that's step number one. And then look at Google, see what's ranking, kind of weave that into your prompt. So the tool knows, oh, this aligns really well. So once you have the prompt, the keyword, you know, we can pick word count, but I'm just going to leave it as the default. Do they tend to publish long form like this?
Mostly long form.
I would expect so, because I've read these guides, you know, for my own knowledge and our exit. So they have to be long form. So you can customize it, and that is the outline. So you can generate a content brief if you're like, you know, I need to see my subheaders. I need to actually get this. And you can actually drag these around and reorder them if you don't like how they're ordered. But like, let's say for you, Felix, you might know this. Like, let's say the exit wasn't as important as investors. You know, like if they had, maybe we want to drag that one and make it number 4. Yeah. What would you say of knowing?
You could also you could add something like a form of scaling your business. You're basically trying to understand when you want to bring on an investor, how the business is worth and how much potential it has to scale.
I like the word scale. I'm going to add that in there. That's good. And then what I think I'll do is I'll tell the prompt, let's put exit at the end here. Okay, now I'm going to customize it again. We're going to generate that brief. And so what it's doing right now is it's crawling the top of Google to get these subheaders. So this is coming straight from what's working. And this is original ways to say it that it has spit out, right? It's that, like, this alone has saved me so much time, because typically, you know, I got to dig into Google. I have to create this outline. I have to tell my writer, please dig into Google. Here's how you do it. That alone is like, that could be 2 hours sometimes, depending on.
And then, so that plus there, can you like add a manual one there as well?
Yes, add a custom heading there and it'll write that for you. So let's just go ahead and see what it does to create the content. So I can add it to the queue, you know, and start another, but let's go ahead and click create content now. And then I've seen like it take anywhere from 2 minutes to like 10. So that's typically how long it takes. So let's see, I'm going to go to project and just refresh and go down here. Okay, so sometimes you'll see like a status bar.
And is this what now counts as one article?
Correct.
As like okay.
And if you don't like it, you can rerun it, and that doesn't cost a credit. So right now it's fetching from the SERPs. It's collected from 14. The FAQs in the SERPs, if that's in progress, and then it's going to write it.
Can you localize it to certain countries? For example, let's just say, so I'm in South Africa, where we have a lot of our own very unique things. And let's say, for example, I've got a client that is in the education space, and a lot of articles we write for them about matric, which is the final year of school. Would you be able to like specify content only in South Africa?
I know that you can do up to 50 languages, but I don't know if that's also something you get set for a geographical location, you know, versus the language. So let me get back to you on that. That's a good question.
Or even for like accounting, for example, accounting is often very specific to the country that you're in. South African tax law is going to be very different to US or UK or Europe.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's where the fact checking would be critical.
Right. So now we're at 60% done. All the SERP checking is done. FAQs, SERP checking is done. NLP wrote the thing. So now it's verifying. That's interesting. I've never hovered and watched the statuses change live. It's so crazy. I mean, it's like watching history unfold whenever you see something, write something that used to take like, 9 hours with a human writer. It is crazy. Yeah. So that fact checking piece, like that's been important, especially if you're in industries where like the products are super innovative, things are just new and different. or they have their own unique methodology that they haven't even shared on the internet yet. So those are things that AIO process gets a little heavier. This one's taking it a while, but look at the title already. How to do company valuations, a guide for founder. Like, that's my standard of writing. That's good, which is hard to do with these tools. Like, a standard of good has been hard to hit. That's a good headline. So let's see where we're at now. Let me see if I can refresh it.
Question that I posed to Kevin, which was, well, what are your thoughts on the future of SEO content when everyone's got access to the same tools? So everyone's basically now got access to a quality writer. Before, you had like time. That was your edge, was you had the time and the effort to put in. But now if companies can just mass produce content at scale, do you think that's going to make it just only the authority sites have content that will rank, and all the small fish with no authority will basically be kind of left in the dirt? Or do you think there's going to still be opportunity for everybody else to create content?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think for one, it'll level the playing field, right? Because only if you had time, and even in some cases time and money, that was when you were able to publish content at scale. So now the playing field's completely level with tools like these, where you can, oh, it's done. Okay, I gotta look at this. Put this down really quick. So here on the right, of course, we have keywords. The H means it's your header. So that's usually your H2, H3. And then the number on the left, that's how many keywords need to be. That's the number of keywords that need to be in the content based on the range that's in Google right now for the top 3. And again, like, this is crawled from the top of Google. Like, that used to take me so much time. I can't get over this. So that these are the keywords that you really need to include. And that's why, like, a human won't go away, right? Because we still have to make this better. So I would go through that. That would be like one of the first steps, is to make sure these keywords are included. But Felix, let me hand it over to you. I'd love for you to tell me, like, how accurate is this? Are these keywords that, for example, your client would want to see? Let's look at it. So first of all, like, what do you think of some of these keywords?
From a high level, the keywords seem on track with what it is. But again, this is a topic that we would eventually provide them with a structure like this, and they would then fact check and rewrite it to make sure that it would. So they would basically, we would be almost kind of like the AI writing something SEO friendly that's full of keywords, and then they would provide the fact-checked version effectively. So I would only be able to kind of look at whether or not it's meeting the kind of general principles of good content. Does it follow a logical structure that Google likes? Does it have keywords we put in? So that's where we would check. So yeah, it would take some time, but overall it's looking interesting.
Yes, we've got some little grammar fiascos, to fix here. But one thing I like, and this is what I've been seeing with even pretty tougher industry level content, is, my content writer wouldn't know, like, how to come up with this, for lack of a better word, jargon that belongs to that industry. So these things, like, would a writer even know to put some of these things in here? Because AI has access to so much data. I'm seeing AI through a totally different lens. It's like a freaking unicorn for content production, because it knows things that a human doesn't, because it has its hands on billions of data pieces. It was just, the problem was curation and aggregation. And now, like, we have it with something like this tool, and you can turn these off and on, Felix, the takeaways. So that would be in the project settings. Like, we can turn that off. And like, let's say you were to incorporate this in your process, what you could do is take this into a Google Doc, not tell the client that, you don't really need to disclose who wrote it anyway. From a professional perspective, I never have in my agency, unless we were asked. Sometimes we were even coming up with personas because we had writers leave so quickly. So it was like, Jane wrote this, but Jane's not here anymore. So here's a persona. So if you took this into a Google Doc and you didn't tell them it was written by AI, and you just ask them, can you fact check this? Can you tell me the quality? I'm trying out a new process. You could even say trying out a new writer, so that they don't have in their head, oh, this is written by AI, I automatically hate it, which that bias kind of comes into play. And something I noticed that it does automatically is sometimes it'll write too many FAQs. So for example, what are the 5 methods of company evaluation? And I'd be interested to know if these are accurate. Like, are these the way?
Well, it's
kind of want to peek at this, because is, you know, we had a business sale. So I wanted to see what it said here. How much is a business worth with 1 million in sales? The value depends on many factors, such as the company's profitability, growth potential, competitive landscape. Generally speaking, businesses with higher profit margins are worth more. Yes, that's true. Additionally, businesses that are growing rapidly may also command a premium valuation. That's true too. Ultimately, the true value is determined by its ability to generate cash flow. You know, automatically, like too, my writer wouldn't know these things and how to write this well. So that's pretty crazy. Structure is here, you know, for something that would actually rank in Google, which is pretty cool. We just need to make it better. Need to go through it, kind of trim it up, cut it down. But oh my gosh, like this is pretty decent. If I landed on this, I had to exit 2 years ago, I would probably read it. And that says a lot, quality. So what else do you want to see from a tool like this, Felix? What would be like your next step? And up here, you know, you have a unique meta. So this is also original. And oh, you know what? One thing we could do is, you know, typically you'd have to train writers, like a course or something else. But now it's almost like you don't need to train them, just follow this list. So the first paragraph is missing the primary keyword. Like that's something, okay, got to get that in there. That's easy. And then it turns green when you do. Like these things will guide your writer. So that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, when I found this, the writer's obsolete. We don't need the writer for the baseline. We need them to switch into more of an editor now. One thing I want to do real quick, 2 things. I want to see if this comes back duplicate at all. So let me hit request. Let's see. Nope, it didn't come back. None of it is duplicates. That's good. And then let's see if it passes AI detection. 100% human. My goodness, that is wild. So no tool to date has been able to do these things. That's why I was just like pretty much blown away.